Hello and welcome to the Sonic Cinema podcast. My name is Brian Scuttle. Thank you for joining me at www.sonic-cinema.com. You can also check out the podcast at YouTube, Sonic Cinema Podcast, as well as Apple, Google, and Spotify. I'm pleased to be joined with a fellow film blogger that I've known for a few years now and have even contributed. I think it's just one piece for his website, The Inner Circle, but there's, we have discussions about movies back and forth. It's always fun to talk to him, and I wanted to bring him onto the podcast to talk a little bit more. Please welcome to the show, Michael Patrick.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me. There has been a few. We've known each other for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I think, well, despite the Browns, other than the Cleveland Browns, I find you to be an outstanding human being.
Well, I could, that it's good to know as a Steelers fan you're able to see that in people. I'll do. Hey, to be fair, some of my, in all honesty, we've got family friends who have been Steelers fans forever, and we love them. So I respect the healthy rivalry of it.
I will have to say this as an official Steeler fan. We love the Steelers. We support the Steelers. We're all about the Steelers, but we don't like Big Ben. Big Ben can go away. We don't want Ben on the team. It would have been better if he would have just left forever ago. And those who know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, indeed. It's and the funny thing is that's one of the that's one of the big what ifs in recent Browns history. If the Browns had actually drafted Roethlisberger in 2004, because he wanted to play for Cleveland, and but the coach at the time was so enamored with his Miami University of Miami players, he picked somebody arguably even more dubious than Ben Roethlisberger and Kellen Winslow Jr. So
that didn't end up very well, did it?
No, not at all. But no, it's gonna be it's gonna be a fun division to watch if we get a chance to see any football this year, which I think they'll do everything in their power to make sure that happens. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. But let's get on to the subject of movies for a second.
Sure.
So,
let's do that.
What inspired you to start writing about movies?
Well, my blog has its roots in obviously the greatest tragedy in my life, and I started my blog when my wife Lori Ann got sick. She developed uterine cancer, and I started the blog as a way to chronicle what was going on with us. And I started it on Facebook, and I transferred it to Blogger.com, and then I went to WordPress. So I wrote about how, the progression of the cancer, which eventually ended up taking her in May of 2013. But I had found that writing had kept me somewhat sane during the ordeal. And so while I could have kept on writing about it, I just felt like nobody would really want to read that over and over and over. And it'd probably be really healthy for me to move on from that. So I started writing about movies as just a way just to keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got encouragement from a lot of people, including film director Sean Kane, who has been totally beneficial to my blog. I mean, he's been a huge supporter of it since day one. I reviewed his movie Jurassic City as my first That was my first review, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just writing how I felt about a movie. I mean, I'm not trained. I don't really. I guess I really don't understand a person who feels like they're a professional critic. Mm-hmm. And that term just seems so funny to me. So I started out with Jurassic City, and then I started just doing some fun, cheesy movies at first. I just learned as I went on. I read a lot of blogs like yours, and I just and I watched more and variety, different variety of movies, and I just became more confident in my writing, overcoming my blocks. About that, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Sit there in front of the computer and just not have everything to say, but don't have a way to get it out. So yeah, I didn't want to write about blockbusters. I knew that. Probably about 10 movies in, I knew that I didn't want to be like everybody else writing mm-hmm. about Star Wars or Terminator or whatever the flavor of the month was at the time. So I just wrote about smaller, obscure, retro movies, and I seem to have found a nice niche with that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hardest things about film blogging, I think, is especially when you get started, is figuring out what your niche is when it comes to writing about it. I mean, it's like I still write about most, if not all, of the big blockbusters, classic movies and stuff like that. But one of the things that really helped me sort of take what I was doing to another level was I started to have filmmakers send me their movies and be interested in having me review their movies for the site. And so that really did expand my interest beyond the bigger movies and the blockbusters and the major studio films to more independent films in the true sense of the word, in terms of indies that don't even necessarily have distribution, that you're more likely to find on festival circuits or even online as opposed to in theaters. And I know that is the hardest thing to do, is to try to figure out, like, okay, I mean, I'm writing about, for me, so much of it was trying to, I'm writing about all these big movies. The hard thing for me was sometimes to get to them on time, because I wasn't necessarily, for me to be able to have them relatively current in terms of the, necessity of my writing about them would be, making sure I see them opening night or, opening weekend at least. And so that was definitely it was a bit of a struggle, but having filmmakers wanting my opinion on their movies, it's like that definitely opened a lot more doors for me to where I could sort of figure out what I wanted to go from there.
I agree. It's that part is interesting. I mean, my progression on the blog just went from, like I know a lot of people do the blockbusters because they bring in the views. I mean, or they bring in the viewers or whatnot, and mm-hmm. If they're hot, and if I posted a Rise of Skywalker, I probably would get 400, 500, 600 views, on my article. But if I did, Elm Street, people just look at me all weird, mm-hmm. like the story of Elm Street. What's Elm Tree? Elm Tree, and it's like, well, that would be the place where they actually made the movie. Oh, and that would bring about 15 viewers.
Yeah.
It's like nobody really knows about it, but I did, and it's like, it's something to me is fascinating, and it's like I said, I mean, I don't want to be, I guess I just find it more fun to write about something that hasn't been written about before.
Yeah.
Very underwritten. Now, occasionally that I'll find a movie where I'll think, wow, no one's ever heard of this, and yet I'll look at a movie database page and there's like 30 people, and I'm like, all right, I'm in good company.
Mm-hmm.
I write about every movie out there except for two genres I don't cover. I don't do adult entertainment,
mm-hmm.
and I also don't do torture porn.
Yeah.
Will not do that. Don't want it. And believe me, I've had a few cross my desk, and they just kept on sliding. I do appreciate and really am flattered when a director, especially short films, will contact me and they'll ask me to review the film.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can get to it, sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
And also, too, is because my background is actually live music. Well,
okay.
in another life, I worked in live music for 10 years. And so I know the value of promotion. That's one thing
mm-hmm.
musicians do know very well. It's how to promote.
Yeah.
And I find myself taking that same, I take the same ethic with me. And I look for people who promote their films
mm-hmm.
And themselves. That helps shape what I do as well.
Yeah.
I think actors tend to think, and directors tend to think that I'll make a movie, I'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's behind me, they'll have to promote it. Well, as you've already seen, as most anybody doing what we're doing, that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing people get cast in movies that almost really don't have any acting experience,
mm-hmm.
like YouTube stars or whatnot, Instagram people.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why is because they promote. They get out there and they promote themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a regular actor or actress might sit up there and say, "But I'm trained. I have credits." Yeah, but you also don't have 100,000 people following you, and you're not out there every time we have a line in a film, and you're out there promoting the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at I'm on this movie. I had a line, and here I'm going to tell all my people about it.
Yeah.
It's the landscape has changed
mm-hmm.
as far as promotion goes. So when a director comes up to me and wants me to write about their film, I'm interested in seeing, how are they promoting it? How are they getting it out there?
Yeah.
Because if they care about it, if they promote it, then I care about it.
Mm-hmm.
I find that people who just dump and run, I'm not really interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to just making a movie than yelling, action, cut, and print.
Yeah. No, and I know for me, like it's been I look as I look as a sort of a symbiotic relationship too, where it's like, they're asking me for, my opinion of their movie, which will help them promote the movie. But then they will also, when they get my review back, they will go, and post that on their social media so that more people are coming to my site. So it's very much a win-win. But one of the things that's also been nice is I've been very fortunate to get to know a lot of filmmakers who
mm-hmm.
Who really I like what they have to say. I like a lot of the things that they have to say. I like the projects that they come in to, and so being able to see them grow from that is one of the more interesting and entertaining things for me.
See, that's what I love about what you and I do,
mm-hmm.
because we're not beholden by so-called rules.
Yeah.
You can't have a personal relationship with any of these people you work with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to cuss or not, but
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, but I will say bullshit to that, because I'm friends with a lot of artists,
mm-hmm.
a lot of actors, a lot of actresses, and a hell of a lot of film directors.
Yeah.
And I enjoy talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my two of my favorite directors I talked to is like Sean Kane, and then I talked to Thias Musu over of the Netherlands, and he directed a movie, co-directed a movie with Colina Mongers, who I'm now talking up a storm now that I'm on Instagram. Now her and I are talking up a storm. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love the relationships. It allows me to see what their process is like.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I like seeing it. It's really fun to, and sometimes I'll share with you some things,
Yeah.
Not every relationship happens that way. I mean, mm-hmm. I'll tell you this funny story. I won't mention names. I'll just I will tell you that within my blog I have an interview series called 8 Questions With, mm-hmm. which actually predates my reviews by a long shot. I started out on the old MySpace, but I brought it along to the blog as a way to break it up. Mm-hmm. So I interviewed different people from everywhere. Artists, actress, writers, everything, and one of his film directors. So here's a funny story for you. I go ahead and I buy this movie. And because a friend of mine who's in it, I've interviewed before, and so I ping him on Twitter and says, "Hey, I bought your movie. I'm going to be looking at it." And he goes, "That's great. It's awesome." And then I get a ping from the director of the movie. He says, "That's great. Thank you." Mm-hmm. And so a lot of my interviews come at spur of the moment.
Yeah.
So I just turn around and ask him, "Hey, how about doing an interview with me?" He says, I'd be awesome. I said, all right, let's do it. So I find out that I had actually I had a long time ago before I met this fellow, I had actually done a movie that he had written, which I really liked. I thought I could have been really special, mm-hmm. But it wasn't necessarily his fault. The story was good, but the direction was a little bit shaky. He didn't direct it, but he wrote it. So I was like, okay, so I know this gentleman's work a little bit. So I'm excited to get this movie. I'm looking forward to it, and so I'm gonna watch it so I can get my questions out to him. And I watch it and I review it, and the movie's garbage. Mm-hmm. It's just trash. It's just trash. I mean, the concept was great. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you, Brian. I absolutely love the concepts, which is probably one of the reasons why it really stung a little bit that it sucked so bad, because it's like, wow, this is just a great idea, and holy cow, I wish. So there's a couple things that are good in it. A very well-known and famous face in the horror genre is in it and does a really credible job, but the rest of the movie is just really bad. Mm-hmm. But I write my review and I put it up, and then I sent him my questions. I'm just like, one review. It's just one person up here in Michigan, has no affiliation with Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or any of those big, those huge ones that pay you for reviews and stuff like that, that kiss ass. Not just one guy. And then I get an email back from him about 4 days later. He said, I can't do the interview. I don't know how my distributor would like it if I did an interview after you pretty much roasted my movie. I was just sort of floored by that, and so I wrote to him. I said, I understand that. I really do. But he says, I said, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I mean, mm-hmm. He says, well, maybe if you'd done the interview first and then the review. And I wrote to him. I said, now how would you like it if I was kissing your ass, getting this interview going, right, and printing it up, and then I come out with my review, and mm-hmm. my review is what it is. Now, how would you feel about me as a person for doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you think I was dishonest to you? Because I respect you far more than that. Mm-hmm. I could have played it that way, but I didn't because it's wrong. It's
Yeah.
wrong to do. As you know, as a critic, a lot of times you'll get an angry director or an actor or whatnot, going like, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
And I always tell them, "You know what? I'll tell you. It's just like I tell anybody else. I'm not going to promise you a good review. I'm not going to promise you a bad review. I'm going to only promise you an honest review."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just two people.
Yeah.
It's me, and the cheetah, and that's it. It's just two of us. And the cheetah, that's my co-writer.
Mm-hmm.
He watches all the movies with me. My review section is called "Have Cheetah Will View."
Mm-hmm.
He picks the movies out, and whatever he picks, we watch with a little help of catnip. But I mean, don't you feel? I mean, you're more of a professional critic than I am. I mean, I've watched you just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and you got credentials, and you get invited to places, and a lot more people are sending you stuff. And I mean, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
The more big that you get, the more well known that you get, don't you find you have a lot less freedom?
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to especially if I agreed, if I'm interested in getting a screener to a movie that a PR person has sent me about, whether it's for IFC or Landmark Theaters and stuff like that. I mean, I've gotten and yeah, I mean that's one of those things where it's like, I basically am obligated to post a review on those, whether I like it or not. And, I can't necessarily say, yeah, I'm not really interested in writing a review. But the thing is, it's like, I am fortunate that I'm not necessarily beholden to having to write a positive review for them sometimes. But I will say, as far as like interviews, getting interviews with those filmmakers, that's a harder thing, obviously. I mean, I have been fortunate to get a few interviews out of those, but at the same time, it's harder because of the fact that it's basically, the PR person, there's a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to like, we've got we can only pick and choose so many people to interview, to do interviews with, and it's like I've missed out on some that I wish I would have liked to have gotten to, but at the same time, I was fortunate enough to happen to get an interview with Lynn Shelton when her last film was coming out last year, and that was really, and that was nice, and it's like some filmmakers this year, the documentary Spaceship Earth, I got a chance to talk to that director. But at the same time, it's harder to get those type of interviews. But you know what? I actually enjoy I enjoy talking to the filmmakers that send me their stuff more because of the fact that I feel like I have more freedom. Like we have more freedom to talk about just whatever I might be interested in bringing up, and it's not limited to 15 minutes. So I mean that's one of the nice things about that is very different.
I do feel like my interview series is all written. Like the 8 questions format is, I send the same thing out to everybody, and I basically ask between 8 to 12, sometimes more, questions to whoever I'm talking to, and I just ask them to write out a good answer.
Yeah.
I don't want them to write out just a generic single sentence or whatnot. I don't run those. Whereas a lot of my interviews have just come with a lot of actors who just break it out into the business.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just, they have maybe a few credits here and there, and but when I was in the live music. That was my forte. My forte was able to find bands that popped, that were big before they popped.
Yeah.
And I booked a lot of bands that nobody knew at the time, but they ended up becoming very famous. They're still playing out there today, you know. Lately, it does seem that my interview series has started to tick upward as far as names go. You know, as far as that goes, and that's really it's interesting to me. You know, it's like I don't know how it happened. It just slowly, you know, and it's just like, you know, I don't like send out a blanket. You know, I don't send out like you know like you want to talk to me like 50 people. All mine are just strictly by my gut. Like I will, you know, I've seen several people, you know, who I just how I feel. It's just like, okay, I want to interview this person, so I'll interview this person.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, sometimes I'll get a little help. More often than not, it's just a straight up 1-to-1, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, and you give them some leeway, you give them some space, and you sit there and say, hey, just send it to me, you know, send it to me when you can, you know, basically about 3 weeks or so. And wow, some of the interviews have just been outstanding. They open up, they're allowed the time to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically interviews basically what it is. It's like you're talking about yourself. And it's surprisingly hard for a lot of people to actually sit down to do that.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, like some of the folks will have trouble and say, what am I supposed to say? And I'll sit there and say, you're brand new. You're brand new. Like, you know, if you're in the UK, like, one of my favorite actresses who I adore so much, I found off a blind buy. I got a movie called The Blaylock Residence, and I just fell in love with the leading lady. Her name's Kelly Goody. She's a Scottish English actress, and just amazing person.
Yeah.
Just you know, not too many credits, and you know, today's world. It took a little time, but I did track her down, and I asked her. I said, "Would you like to do an interview?" And she says, "What do I talk about?" I said, "I want you to talk about yourself."
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna introduce yourself. You got a movie. You're in a position that a lot of your peers are not. You're a Scottish actress that opened a movie here in the States. An independent horror film. And let me tell you, that doesn't happen very often.
No.
But here you go. So, you know, you're going to tell people about yourself, and we're going to introduce you to the people here in the States. That's, you know, you tell it to anybody you talk to, and same thing with film directors. Like, what do I talk about?
Right.
You know, we'll talk about your movie. Just cut loose. Tell us all about you. So, like when people hear a name, they go like, "Oh yeah, I know who that person is," and they'd be more apt not to watch your movie. You know, spend that money.
Yeah.
The movies I review, I mean, other than the shorts, because you and I both get shorts of the yin yang. Yeah, I don't mind them. I mean, I'm a huge short film fan guy. A huge. That's something I really never thought about when I started doing this. But good Lord, Brian, you and I have seen some amazing short films.
Oh yes.
I mean,
yes.
In some cases, the short films are better than the featured lengths.
Agreed. Yep.
Just some amazing short films. The genre is so alive and well.
Yeah.
And but I like the short film format. I like the short film format. I like that it's a showcase for a lot of good actors. Gosh, I'm going to pass it over for you for a minute while I gather my thoughts about that.
Well, I was actually curious as far have you I know you and I are mutual friends of his. Have you interviewed Tim Cox for the site?
Oh, Timothy Cox?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Now, where Sean is as a director is the friend of the blog, Timothy Cox as an actor is definitely a friend of the blog.
Yeah.
I have reviewed a lot of Timothy Cox's of short films.
As have I.
I really, really wish that some feature length director would take a chance and grab him. I would like to see what he could do, with some room to maneuver.
Yeah, he is such a talented actor. It's like
he's extremely talented.
But I bring that up because I've had him on the show several times, and he's always a fun person to talk to.
Oh my gosh, he sounds like he'd just be an absolute hoot.
Yeah.
I did interview Tim a long time ago. In fact, I need to probably reach out and ask him to do a follow-up. I know that he recently moved from New York to Ohio.
Yeah.
So he's not that far away from me. I should definitely do that. But, yes, his movies are extremely powerful.
Yeah.
To Be Alone is probably one of the top 20 films I've reviewed altogether on my blog.
I don't remember if I've reviewed that one yet.
Oh, that movie is a mind blower.
Mm.
That one is that the ending is, it's like he didn't know. He had a theory. I had a theory. We just didn't know. But the ending is so, the story is so powerful. Either way, I saw it one way. I think other people saw it a different way. But wow, isn't that what the film's supposed to be about anyway?
Yeah.
So just a beautiful movie.
Yes, I did review it. I couldn't remember because I've reviewed so many of his movies, and I know there are a few in my inbox that I haven't gotten to yet.
That one stays with me.
Yeah.
That movie stays with me all the time. I mean, I could think about. People mention, favorite movies or whatnot. To Be Alone is definitely one of my choices right away.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that he did that it made me angry. It really made me angry was Here Lies Joe.
Yeah.
And I was really mad at that. I sort of, it's very rare for a movie to come inside and just get set up in your mind, in your brain, and just live there.
Mm-hmm.
And to be, Here Lies Joe was one of those movies.
Yeah.
And it's just a great performance. It's a great performance. It's a harsh subject. Not every character you watch in a movie is a likable character, but that's good because that means when they get you to be angry, they've done their job. You're happy or you're sad or whatever. They've done their job. The actor's done their job. Like you mentioned earlier about you review IFC movies,
mm-hmm.
and as you know, I'm an IFC fanatic. I collect their films. I have 186 of them sitting on my shelf. And we were remiss to do any sort of podcast or any sort of, without me talking about my favorite film that I've ever reviewed, and it's a movie called A Dark Song.
Okay.
That movie's me. That movie is totally me. I am definitely that is all me all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I won't spoil it because it's a really intense film. You need to see it. It was directed by Liam Gavin, and about a woman who suffers a tremendous loss, and what she'll do to gain peace. And it's just haunting as hell. It is dark, it is haunting, and it is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It is a beautiful film. Me and Liam, we'd actually talked about it, and I personally don't feel it's a horror film per se. He said, I think it's a horror film, and I'm like, I think there's elements of horror into it. Definitely the loss of a child. I mean, it's probably the most horrific thing. But the ending of the movie and the progression of this woman's journey, that's why I like sitting down and writing reviews.
Yeah.
Just because of movies like that, it makes it a lot more easier for me. You know, to sit down there and go like, wow, this is utterly, completely beautiful, and I got to share this with people. I got to tell you about this movie. So let me do that. You know, that's part of the reason why I write too, is because I want to tell you about what I saw. My buddy Catfish and I, we have a. I'm surprised he didn't do this with Toxic. I mean, if you guys ever lived close enough together, Toxic, Joe, I'm telling you, you guys would do this. I know this. I've thought about this actually when I've been talking to you. But me and my buddy Catfish, what we'll do, we'll get together and we each pick a movie. We each pick a movie for our collections. He's got like 5,500 movies.
Oh wow!
The guy has the largest chopsaki collection I know. I mean, and he's a big fan of Fat Seagal, which is a rarity. But he loves the Steven Seagal movies. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll each go to our respective house, you know, and come on over. Whoever hosts the party buys the dinner. Another person gets snacks, and then we try to basically are watching movies. What we're trying to do is get the other person to just go to love it so much that they buy it. That's the whole gimmick, to push it. So, I have never lost yet. I have gotten him to buy every single movie I've showed him. He's went and bought the movie. I've done it to him like 10 times, and I converted him to. I made him into an IFC believer.
Nice.
He used to tease. Yes, he used to tease the hell out of me about you're just a fanatic. You're just, you know. I'm going to the video store. Yeah, what are you looking for? I already know. But now he's got like 30 of them of himself.
Well, now, it's nice to see somebody obsessed with IFC as opposed to A24. I love A20. I love a lot of films that A24 comes out, but it's almost like completely to the point where it's cliched for a film lover to love A24 at this point.
Yeah, you know who Blu-ray Dan is?
No.
Okay. So Blu-ray Dan, he's a big YouTube critic, and he gets a lot of stuff, and he does a lot of reviews and whatnot. But he's an A24 fanatic. In fact, we have a rivalry here. I always gotta hype him up. I'll send you the link to his page. He's like the sweetest guy too. He's just a really nice guy. But his A24 fanaticism is about as good as probably as big as my IFC. and he and I, we had a long discussion over A Ghost Story.
Yeah.
Now, A Ghost Story is one of the very worst films I've ever seen. That movie is garbage. I cannot begin to tell you how awful that movie is. I hate that movie. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. The guy who made the movie, the director of the movie, he made that movie for one person. One person he made that movie for, and that was for himself. There's nothing there there's nothing redeeming about it. And his take on what grief is or whatever, you know, I know grief's an individual thing, but he made it obscene. He made it obscene, and I just no. But I saw how everybody was just hyping over that movie. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a great movie!" And I got it. I went and bought it, and I put it on there, and I made it through. But good Lord, that movie sucks so hard. And after that, as far as A24 goes, you're right. They're very inconsistent. I mean, like you look at The Lighthouse. Now, my older sister loved it. She says, "You got to get that movie. You got to get it." My younger sister's like, I could not stand it. We walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard, it's like hit and miss. I mean, I've heard things about Hereditary. Hereditary is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then you got Midsummer, who's like, 3 hours of just walking around the countryside with a little bit of burst of action.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think people get tied up to it is because it's a new A24 film, but it doesn't mean it's good. I mean, even I with my IFCs, I can tell you right now, in a weird twist, I do my top 20 like you do. Mm-hmm. You and I do top and bottom 20s. My top movie for a couple of years ago was A Dark Song, IFC Midnight movie. The one movie I hated the most of that year was an IFC movie called Horror, #Horror, HORROR.
Okay.
That movie, I got. Okay, so I don't get mad at movies. I mean, I don't. Even though, like I said, to be alone, to hear Lies Joe. I mean, that's probably like a handful I've actually watched and go like, what were they thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
But that was with Horror. That movie it was just so sloppy and so arrogant and so. I'm a rich girl. I'm bored, so I'm gonna make it. I have money, so I'm gonna make a movie. It was just a god awful piece of shit. And just because it was an IFC movie does not mean that I cannot get off. I can't sit there and say, "Oh, yeah, it's the best thing since forever."
Yeah.
When in fact it was like the worst thing forever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really. I mean, I notice you don't either, and I really respect this about you, Brian, a lot. I respect about this about any critic, self-style or professional or whatnot. I don't think that it's behooving to simply slag a movie just because you can.
Yeah.
This is a huge thing now that I've noticed. Like a lot of filmmakers, a lot of people write reviews, and they make them as snotty and snarky as possible. They write shitty reviews because they get the buzz out of writing the shitty review.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Now, has every movie I've ever reviewed been a winner? No.
Yeah.
No. Of course not. Has there some that just been out just like, okay, here's a good example. If you're writing a review about an independent horror film or independent creature feature, you're not allowed to write a bad review. You're not, because basically you already know going in it's going to be bad, and it often is. So what you try to do, if you can, I do anyway.
Yeah.
Is I try to look for the silver lining. Like the Baylock Residence, who I mentioned earlier. The movie, the director shot himself in the foot. He had a good movie, but he didn't include his original ending, which would have wrapped up the movie and made it real. It would have been from point A to point Z. He would have told a story, and it would have been a fine ending. But he wanted to be edgy or whatever he was thinking, and he didn't do it. So his movie suffered for it.
Yeah.
His movie wasn't that good. It's not his cast's fault that he did that. Okay, his cast gave a great performance, and so when I write my review, I said the movie itself is not that good, but the acting in it, especially by the lead actress, that was Kelly, was outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow, you just want to sit there and go like, put her in something else because I want to see her again. So I always try to write a silver lining in every review.
Yeah.
I do that more now than I did when I first started out. I mean, because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten, as you and I, know this from your doing your commentary for 2050, which was a fun listen to, by the way.
Thank you.
I as I've gotten further on, was writing, you and I have both started to be the artists involved. Like when I first started out, I didn't know any actors, I didn't know any directors. I knew Sean Kane, but I mean that was it. I mean I knew a couple of actors and whatnot. But here it is, 455 reviews later, and I know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not name dropping per se, but what I'm saying is I know a lot of people, and now I understand how movies get made.
Yeah.
And so now you respect the process all that much more because it's very often a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
I got a review from a movie called Underwood. It was a mystery door set in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
The director who sent me this movie, I was so impressed with the man. It took him 5 years to complete his movie.
Wow.
That's love.
Yeah.
That's just love.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you think the movie's very good or not, who cares?
Yeah.
The guy spent 5 years making this movie, getting a little bit of money here, getting some time here, and putting shooting on the weekends, and and I mean, you gotta have nothing. Whether you like the movie or not, you have to respect the process. You have to respect the drive.
Right.
I just think that sometimes YouTube interviewers or reviewers, they don't understand that. They don't. I think a lot of them are out there just to get free stuff. They don't understand the process. They don't take the time to talk to directors. They don't take time to talk to actors.
Mm-hmm.
Producers, or all they want is like, if I put together a 5-minute review on YouTube, I'll get free stuff.
Right.
And you're in it for all the wrong reasons if you're doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I think so much of the problem, it's so much of the problem with film criticism now, and I mean, let's be perfectly clear. A lot of the stuff that you see on YouTube with regards to movies is not real film criticism. It's like film outrage more. It's basically like all of these people who've seen decades of the 24-hour news cycle essentially becoming a back and forth argument that passes for debate has essentially it's eventually made its way into these YouTube reviewers where it's like there are some people like that come up on Twitter whenever they say something really stupid and asinine, and I'm like, I never heard of this person before, and there's a good reason that I'm glad for that, because of the fact that like that's not the type of person I want to pay attention to when it comes to movies. It's like I'd much rather just talk. It's like, what did you like about a movie? What didn't you like? But the problem is, it's like this is where the constant news cycle, and especially at a time now where there's like not really much news going on because everything is going on with COVID, that it's we have to come up with something to get our clicks. And it's like, why are people even watching this? It's like, I can barely get through some of those videos without just turning them off immediately.
Now, I just started, and I started my finally got my YouTube channel up, and like I personally will tell you, there are some really cool people.
Yeah.
Out there. I mean, Blu-ray Dan, outstanding. Dan from Reject Films. I mean, that guy. I watched that guy. He's gone through his own personal hell, but I know I was really worried for him because he's my friend and I really like him, and for a minute there I was like, holy cow, he's got to hang on here. But he's coming back, and he's his reviews have really gotten really good, and they're insightful, and he takes his time. he really cares about what he watches. And his when I first met him, his you know, what he watches was very narrow. It was like all horror and
Yeah.
Now I sit there and I watch him, but a year and a half later, and all of a sudden, he's very much like me in the sense like he and you. It's like he will watch anything.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like I get teased a lot because on my blog, you probably already seen some of these, but on my blog, I do something like most people probably would not do, and that is I watch and yes, I review Hallmark movies. I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
I you know what? I know what they're about going into it, but you know what? I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I can put them on. It's 90 minutes of just getting away,
mm-hmm.
and it's there's always going to be a happy ending for the most part. I mean, it's just I watched. I picked up a pilot from this series called Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I absolutely love the show. It only ran 10 episodes, but they made like 14 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh my gosh, they're so wonderful. I mean, they're breaths of fresh air. You can put them on. You're gonna get choked up. You're gonna laugh. It's gonna be horror fans are gonna always be amused that they always try and make Crystal Lowell look really homely.
Yeah.
She's one of the most beautiful, actresses out there. That's part of it. You're sitting there and watching like, all right, no one's buying this. I don't understand how you sit there and put her in these rabby dresses. I mean, look at her. It's Crystal Lowell, for Christ's sake. She's gorgeous. You have Kristen Booth. She's got the most expressive eyes of any actress. You watch her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They are amazing. I can watch anything she's in just to watch her eyes. I just like the chemistry. I like the feel goodness of what Hallmark brings. We need that. I need that.
Mm-hmm.
I need that. Now, most reviewers, most critics, or YouTubers or whatever, they won't touch those things with a 10-foot pole.
No.
And how do I know this? Just go to any of their movie database pages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm often the only person who's reviewed the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe me or two other people. We're the only ones that review it, and we're the only ones out there. So if you click on it, you'll. But I just think it's a breath of fresh air. I think it's needed. We don't have enough of those.
Yeah.
And look at Hallmark Channel now. Hallmark Channel is monstrous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a monster. They do all those Christmas movies.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, every Christmas it's like they'll make Christmas movies throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Come
November, December, they'll run out 30, 35 new Christmas movies. But good Lord, you just read the feedback on it. People just absolutely love it. They're craving it. Oh
yeah. And, I mean, I have some of my in-laws absolutely love those.
Hell, even Lifetime, the Women in Jeopardy channel.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those Lifetime movies are a hoot. But oh my God! But even they have gotten into the Christmas game.
Yeah.
And I reviewed a couple of their movies from. And believe me, it's a little weird talking about Christmas down in Louisiana. It's like there's absolutely zero snow, folks, and it's like it's really hard to get into the Christmas spirit when there's no snow.
Yeah.
But I love those movies. They're a hoot. They make you feel good. You get away from it all because, I mean, personally, I just find anybody who just watches one genre of movie, I just can't do that.
Yeah. I mean,
you got the superhero fans that are just. But let's talk about this because I really want to know your opinion about super fandom. So, what's your take on that? I mean, people like, oh my Lord, it's crazy out there.
It is my opinion of it is basically evolved at this point. I mean, I would say I mean, I would say I love superhero movies. I love Star Wars. I love those type of genres. I wouldn't necessarily. I love those type of movies. I wouldn't necessarily put myself in the deep fandom of obsessiveness at this point anymore. I just, and I mean, part of it is the fan base themselves. Like the fan base themselves is basically turned me off to the idea of being like a huge fan of them. It's like, yes, I love Star Wars. I have more that I want to talk about than just Star Wars, though. It's like I love Marvel movies. I have more that I want to talk about than just Marvel movies. It's like, and you know, I would say I'm a fan of those movies, and yes, I would say I'm a bit obsessed with Star Wars. I have been for over the years, but at the same time, I also recognize there's so many more different types of movies, so many more different types of genres to talk about and to be interested in than just that.
I sit out here and I sit and I watch the super fandom. You know, it's really weird to me. It's like personally the Star Wars movies, the last three. I have two of the three. I haven't got the Rise of Skywalker yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be brutally honest with you. I got them to watch them, but I hate them. The only reason I hate it is because Star Wars is such a trigger, because I just found Disney to be arrogant and really, really, it's really offensive in a sense that it's the same thing that happened to Star Trek. You know, it's but different,
yeah.
And this is what I mean. Star Trek went up there in 1969, aired from 66 to 69.
Mm-hmm.
But the fandom of that was just insane.
Yeah.
Okay? And they wrote books. They wrote books. They wrote their the fan fiction. Even back then, they didn't make their fan movies back then, but they wrote the books. They bought the books. They did conventions. They attended the conventions. I mean, the fandom kept Star Trek alive and grew it. So here it is, 1979, and all of a sudden, they're looking around going like, "Holy shit!" I mean, these fans are, they're great. Star Wars came out, and that helped it. Helped it. But it only helped it in the fact that it showed the studios that, hey, these fans have been out here all the while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they go ahead and they restart Star Trek. Now,
mm-hmm.
Did they go back did they go back to reboot it? No. And this is why Star Trek is so freaking superior to me than Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, because the people who ran Paramount, who took over Star Trek, they did a continuation. They picked up and went with it forward.
Yeah.
Now, and everything has since, except for the J.J. Abrams,
mm-hmm.
has basically gone forward. Even Enterprise, even though it was the prequel, but it still advanced the story forward.
Yeah.
It filled the gaps, and it was awesome. And not only that, but a lot of what the fans created was incorporated into the Star Trek world.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the most famous ones, which had impact on so many series, was what do they call it? It's their intelligence agencies, like Department 31 or Section 31 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was fan created, but the creators of Star Trek implemented it into the series. A lot of what Spock did.
Yeah.
About Vulcan, they incorporated into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you flash forward to Star Wars. Okay, the first three Star Wars movies came out.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome movies, great movies, and so
hey,
of
Michael,
course, right? Yes.
Michael, I'm sorry. I hate to break it up. My mom's tried calling me a few times now. Could you call me back in? So let's go ahead and get back started. I know when we left off, you were talking about Star Trek and the way that Paramount treated that compared to the way Star Wars had been developed. And I know for me personally, I've never been as much of a Star Trek person as I have been a Star Wars person. But I will say one of the things I've always appreciated about about that property is the way they've expanded it beyond even them continuing with the movies from the original series, but also the way they've done different spin-offs and different types of stories from that universe. That's one of the things I've always appreciated about it.
Isn't it amazing? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you look at just you're right. I mean, you look at Star Trek Next Generation. I mean, I know. I mean, you look at Voyager. My favorite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's my favorite one of the big three. I think Enterprise would have worked. I think Enterprise would have worked a lot better, except that they forgot one key element into that, and that it was humor. That's what killed Enterprise. It wasn't the story. It wasn't the acting. It was just the lack of humor.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch Scott Bakula, and I mean, he's on DEFCON 5 every episode.
Right.
And it's just, and you're watching that, and it's like, wow, there's no a piece of the action. There's no trouble with tribbles. Mm-hmm. There's no cue. There's no, there's none of that. There's absolutely no. It was all dark all the time, and I think that just ended up really hurting that series. But it still advanced it forward. The fan base, the Star Trek, Roddenberry and Paramount, they respected the fan base. The Star Trek books were, I've read plenty of Star Trek books and Star Wars books. I mean, the Star Trek books were, really good. Now, Star Wars, you look at Star Wars, you go, okay, the first 3 movies came out. Instantly, people started writing their own books. They wrote their own books. I read the Han Solo trilogy. I went and collected that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Great series. And they advanced the story. I mean, the story was, like, amazing. Mm-hmm. And then Disney comes up there after the first 6 movies, and they come up there and say, "Well, we're gonna redo Star Wars." All right. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be amazing because we're gonna see, Leia and Han have twins, and Luke is a Jedi Master with Academy, and there's some great villains out there. Admiral Thrawn's out there.
Yeah.
And then Disney goes, "Oh, none of that counts."
Mm-hmm.
When they said that ended it for me before I even got going. Even before the first scene was shot, it ended it for me. Mm-hmm. Because I just thought it was such a betrayal of the. It was because of those fans that's the reason why Star Trek and Star Wars is still around. Mm-hmm. It's because of the fans. It's not because of the studio heads. They had nothing to do with it. It's the fan base that kept them alive.
Yeah.
So to go ahead and just completely wipe out all those people's works as telling them, oh, they're non-canon, they're not the official, it's just a complete insult.
Well, that's certainly fair. I mean, I never got invested in the books, so it's like I basically came from it from a perspective of just really enjoying the movies. So I never
followed one series.
Yeah,
I followed one called Rogue Squadron, which was followed the career of Wedge Antilles. Now that was a fun series. Mm-hmm. That was a fun series. That was only the real one I read. I mean, I've read a couple other ones throughout the years, so it wasn't like I have 100 books. I never did. But well, I respected the time and the effort of the
Yeah.
people who did write them.
Yeah.
And I respected the time and the money spent by the people who read them.
Mhm.
All those people spent millions of dollars basically writing and promoting and going to conventions and everything else to keep Star Wars alive. And then here comes Disney and their infinite non-wisdom going like, oh, all what you've done there, it no longer counts.
Mm-hmm.
And then okay, so it's like that's strike one. Strike two, you go ahead and you remake the first three. That's really all it is. It's all. It's not a continuation. It's a complete reboot. All we're going to do, we're going to change the sex of Luke. We're going to turn it into a girl. We're going to make Obi-Wan, instead of Obi-Wan being an old man, we're going to make it into Luke himself. Darth Vader will be Rey, or Rilo, Rilo.
Yeah.
Or, it's just like, wow, how completely, they ain't threw in the old Death Star. It's like, wow, there's not an original thought or anything in this at all. And then now I understand Rian Johnson wanted to do something different. I get that, but wow, his decision on the Last Jedi, his decision. I mean, if he wanted to break the Star Wars franchise, he did his damnedest. He did his best. Turning Luke into a complete wuss. It's just like, wow. I mean, obviously, you can almost tell the man has never read the books. You wonder if he even watched the movies. You seriously wonder, because you look at him and go like, so you have seen the first three Star Wars movies, right? Well, yeah. Okay, so you understand that Luke is not a type of guy that would be hiding out on a planet by himself like Yoda was, right? Because we already done that, Yoda, but that's not his personality, right? I mean, have you read any of the books? I mean, if you read any of his books, you read like 3 or 4 of them, you can understand that a writer who people know who Luke Skywalker is. You could have talked to them about it. You could have talked to Mark Hamill about that. Instead of sitting there saying, "Well, we're going to just have you're going to be like thousands of light years away, and we're going to kill you off without you facing the enemy. We're going to put a holler." I mean, it's just really upsetting. It's upsetting because you watch the first 3 Star Wars movies. You see you see the progression of Luke Skywalker. From a shy young boy to a confident warrior. And then you're going to turn around and stick him on a rock in the middle of a plant of some, it's just like, that's not who Luke Skywalker was. Even someone who's watched the movies one time could have told you that. They could have come up there and said, "Look, I've only seen New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I just saw them last week, but this shit, what you did with him is some bullshit." And that it just alienated it. I mean, and what's really funny about it is, like, sure, you look at the box office, and yes, thanks to China and whatnot, the box office was tremendously huge and all that other stuff. But there's one thing, like now, what's the one thing is missing from the new Star Wars from the old one? You don't hear anybody talk about them. You really don't. No. I mean, I'm looking around. I'm like, how many people are talking about Force Awakens or The Last Jedi? I don't see anybody talking about them. I just don't. I mean, maybe because people have shorter attention spans, maybe because there's just so much more out there or whatnot. But I don't hear anybody talking about them. Like, wow, remember that one part in this or that part of that or how they did. I don't hear anybody talk about that like the first 6 movies. And it's just, I think that's really what it is. I don't think there's love for the movies anymore. I don't think there's that deep love that you got for a franchise, like Marvel. I don't know. Marvel has some. I think it has more. I think Marvel has more of it. Star Trek definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people, you can't. I mean, you talk Star Trek and you're going to get instant fandom, and they're going to be talking about their favorite episodes and their favorite characters, and they could talk all day on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that at all with Star Trek fans. I mean, Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
At all. I don't. You know, I'm older. I saw the first Star Wars movies when they came out. I don't find anybody my age. I never hear them talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if they really even saw them. That's the thing. I'm not sure people my age even saw the new Star Wars movies. It would be interesting to find out, but I just don't see people my age that are. I just think people came, they stood there with their arms folded, saying, "Okay, let's see what you got." Yeah. And as soon as they did, they walked out of the theater, and they didn't look back twice. You know, there's none of those people that go out there and they go see the movie 30 times. They could tell you every line of the movie. Right. I have yet to see anybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch bases with something that I lost when I got on my tangent about short films.
Okay.
We were talking about critics. You know, this could tie into that too. About the criticisms, how a lot of the YouTube, you know, the Instagram people or whatnot, they're more into tearing down the work than they are, you know, building it back up.
Yeah.
I do find that appalling. I do find it, like right before you called back, I got an email from my friend over at Wild Eye Releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if you get any movies from them. Do you get movies from Wild Eye?
No.
Okay. I love Wild Eye. I think that they are. I first ran across them in my video store, and the first movie I ever bought of theirs was a movie called Bigfoot versus Zombie. Now, Brian, I'm telling you, if you see the covers of most of the Wild Eye movies, those covers are amazing. I mean, they are just like, holy shit, I'm getting that. You know, that type of thing, right? Because look at the cover. That cover is tight.
Yeah. Okay,
you grab the movie and you go home, and you know, like an hour and a half later, you're going over there. Where's the receipt? Where's the receipt? Okay, so me and Dan from Reject Films, we got into Wild Eye. He actually got into it, and then through him, I went and I asked for a box of goodies, and then him and I I review more Wild Eye than he does, and he's supposed to be the horror king. So I get my box of Wild Eye, and you know, they're so, you know, a lot of them are, you know, they have a reputation as being just, if you got a movie and it's over 75 minutes long, you know, you can send it to them. They might distribute it. You know, independent horror. If you do an independent horror film or a sci-fi movie, you have a really good chance.
Mm-hmm.
But Brian, I have reviewed a lot of great films from Wild Eye.
Mm-hmm.
I have found some real joy in what they send me, and like they said, you know, because I said, you know, I've reviewed a lot of movies of yours that have been really good, because you know we talk about it, like some of my reviews. You know, like the director, like, you know, they said the director the reviews, and there's been a couple directors that've gotten my reviews, and their feelings have been hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm you know, and you know, not that they've written me about it, but they've expressed it to Wild Eye, you know, and I say I'm sorry. I mean, I'm only being honest.
Yeah.
I can only tell you what I see. And we talk about it, and you know, and I do say, I do appreciate the work that goes behind it. I do. You know, if they're working hard and they're doing their very best, I'll always respect that. Now, so I've told the guys for a while. I said, I've gotten some really great movies from you guys. You know, to me, honestly, Wild Eye movies are critic proof, like Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
You can sit there and say, "Oh my God, Hallmark movies are a pile of poo." Well, you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you're saying because people are watching that, or people are watching it. What, Christmas in Hawaii? Oh, I'm so there. You know, it's like they don't care.
Yeah,
they'll watch it. Wild Eye movies are like that too. You know what you're getting when you watch a Wild Eye. You get it. It's hit and miss. Some movies are going to be really bad, like Shark Exorcist. Horrible movie. Terrible. Virus of the Dead. Horrible movie. Good idea, but way too packed. Just oh Lord. But Shark Exorcist, bad movie. But you know that. You know that going in.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can't just sit there and slag it just to sit there and say that movie sucked. The director didn't know what the fuck he was doing. You know, it's a waste of money. I don't even think they have money to waste. You know, that sort of thing. You can't do that because they're bulletproof.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's no reason to sit there and say it in the first place. And I think it's what a lot of so-called critics are doing. That they're really laying waste to a lot of good artists. They're sitting there and they're criticizing them, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, I had the same discussion, and I'll mention this because I mentioned it on Dr. D's podcast, but this is the one that stays with me. I reviewed a IFC movie, IFC Midnight movie called The Devil's Doorway. I love that movie. That movie is tight. That movie will give you the heebie-jeebies. It's sort of funny. The part that will scare you, it's not the part that's supposed to scare you. The part that's supposed to scare you is good, but it's like the first 20, 25 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
When you're getting a history lesson, that's the part that scares the shit out of you. You're sitting there going like, "Holy cow!" But what happened was the director, Aslan Clark, she was going to different places and they're showing her movie, and she started writing about how you know, like a lot of people were being, you know, they're basically saying shit about the movie, and she was getting upset about it, and like, you know, she said she went to a screening. At the end of the screening, there's like, you know, 70, 80, 90 people. And they're all sitting there, they're all talking to her, and there's one guy going like, "I don't get it. What were you trying to do? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get this movie." But she obsessed on that. And I just wrote to her, I said, "Why are you obsessing about the one who didn't like it? At the same time you're ignoring the 30 that do. Screw the one. Embrace the 30."
Yeah.
And, you know, that's that and so I think filmmakers themselves, they have to do what you know, they have to look for the positives. Don't thrive on the negative, because people are out there, they're going to say it because they're saying it not because they really feel it. They're saying it for its hits. Yeah. For views, for your reaction. If they could get you to react, then you gave them what they wanted. To me, you don't do that. You focus on the people who loved your movie, who appreciated it, who you know, the people who bought it, the people who wanted your autograph on it. I wouldn't give the guy who says there, "Well, I don't get it. I can't help you. If you didn't get it, the only thing I can tell you to do is buy a copy, go home and watch it again." That's the only thing I can tell you. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you know, when I got 90 people here who did get it, I can't go over there and hold your hand and explain to you why you didn't, because it happens. Some people get it, some people don't. But don't obsess over the one who doesn't. That's the other part about the I guess, like I said, I mean, I don't know what a professional critic is. Yeah. I mean, I don't get that when when I don't listen to what anybody says except for a small handful of people whose voices I do respect. Yours, Talks, Dan, my friend Catfish. I mean, Chris Alexander from Fangoria.
Mm-hmm.
Voices like that. When they tell me that something's good, I'm going to believe that. If they say, maybe not so much, I'm going to go with that because I respect their voices. But I'm still going to have my own opinion.
Right.
I'm still going to watch it based on, so that, I mean, but I don't, like this movie got a certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, that was Ghost Story, and we both know how that ended up.
Well, and the thing is, it's like the whole Rotten Tomatoes thing, it's like all it means is the majority of a certain percentage of people who reviewed it liked it. That's all it means. It's like,
and I but how, it's too arbitrary. Like, if I went over to RottenTomatoes.com and I slid up and I sit there and say, I got a review for a movie, will you print it? They're not going to print what I write.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen to my opinion. They're paying people to write for them. So those people get paid.
You have to apply to become certified fresh or not, to be certified to get your blog and get your reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. And I mean, I applied last year and I didn't get it last year. It's like, I might try again like 2021 or something like that.
See,
it's like,
to me, it's like, but you didn't get. I bet you get it next year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
I bet you get it next year because you are so much more. You're actually more established. You're more you're more of a mainstream. You're more of a mainstream critic.
Yeah.
I mean, now your voice is actually larger because you're in print. Your credentials are stronger. The thing is that's all great, but the writing that you do, it hasn't changed. Yeah. You're the same writer you were when you first started as you are now. But because now you have all these credentials and everything else, now it's like he's a respected critic. Well, he was a respected critic when he first started. he was writing the same shit when he first started.
Yeah,
well, nothing's changed about that. It's just now all of a sudden someone gave him a lanyard and someone put him on a critics list. It doesn't make you a better writer. It doesn't make you've been writing solid takes for years.
Well, I mean, my overall evolution, I would consider myself a better writer now than I was when I started, but that's because of the fact that it's like my voice has developed and grown into something where it's like I'm writing differently now. In a way I am writing differently now than I did back then, but it's still from a place of it's also still from a place of authenticity and appreciation of the film, of the medium in general.
I love. To me, it's like I've read some of these reviewers that will, like, one of the things that used to kill me when I was in music. It just made me laugh. It really did. Was, I don't know if you ever read Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
Okay. Rolling Stone magazine is a hoot. It really is. They could take a brand new artist or a review of a new album, and their writer could spend 1,000 words to 3,000 words talking about it, and it's the most important thing since Velveeta cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the sheer self-importance of it. This artist, and this is their first record. And they write it like they discovered a new way to make the wheel. And it's like the writing was just so over the top, and it's like, wow. Now, I can understand that if a person came out with a fifth album or sixth album, but you're writing on a song with one album with a couple of singles on it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even sure if it's going to stick, and you're not even sure if they'll even get a second album. But the way you're writing about it, you're making it's so self-grandizing. It's just a parody. It's a parody of it. Like, I read some critics who will sit there and they'll try to get into the filmmaker's head or the screenwriter's head about what they're saying. You know, like what are they trying to say? What's Hitchcock trying to say? You know, is he trying to say that the house is going to move to the left instead of the right?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's what kills me. That's what loses me about so-called professional criticism. It's like, listen, you either like the movie or you don't. Why do you like it?
Yeah.
Well, I like to try to sit there and dissect or deconstruct a movie. It's like, if you're going to take the time to do that, to try to just deconstruct somebody's work, just do it yourself. Go out there and make your own movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how I feel. That's how I mean, if people sit there and they'll try to take apart a director's. How many movies have you directed? None. How could you do it? I can't sit there and tell you. I can't tell you how a director could do it right or whatnot. I mean, I might be able to. I mean, to me, I know what I expect from a director to do is to direct.
Yeah.
That means to go up there and to not only make the movie move along, but I also feel a director has a responsibility to make his actors work too. That's his job. His job is to go up there and get as best performance as he can from his actors.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sit there and give them the script and hope they memorize it. You know, it's like a good director will work with his, you know, because I watch plenty of actors that sit there. I like it because he's hands off, or I like it because he's not afraid to work with you and he's very generous and all that. It's like, okay, that's great. That's great. That's what a director is supposed to do. I expect that. As me as a critic, I can respect that.
Mm-hmm.
That look, you know, we got a good look. Anybody gets a great performance out of Lindsay Lohan is a great director, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. I mean, she's operating with a certain amount of talent, and it takes a good director to draw it out of her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or any other actor or actress. I just threw that out there. I don't know what made me say Lindsay Lohan, but you know, maybe because they did the Parent Trap reunion.
Maybe
they did this week.
Well,
they
no,
did.
I know they did. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the reason that you her name popped into your head, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking because I was watching that on Zoom. I was watching it on Zoom with and seeing Lisa Ann Walter and Elaine Hendricks on there. And it's just like, I mean, those two have been burning. They kept that movie alive. I mean, you know, it's a hoot. You know.
Yeah.
I saw the original one, Haley Mills. It's a very sweet movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But that's how I feel. I don't think film is it's not rocket science. It's a simple. I like it. I'm excited about it. I'm not excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's I mean, there's some things that make you mad. There's some things that don't. I don't like torture porn. You know, that makes me mad.
Yeah.
That makes me mad. And that gets me going. Like, you know, like I like good horror. I like being scared.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, a good slasher movie. You know, when it's done correctly, it's fun. You know, it is what it is. But I don't like that other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have barriers? I mean, what movies cause you to stand up there and say, "Oh hell no, I'm not touching that"?
I will. I mean, I can't say that there's a particular genre where it's like I will, you know, if it's something I'm somewhat interested in, I'll at least give it a shot. But, yeah, I mean, I can't really think of any genre. I mean, you know, torture porn, it's like I can like take it or leave it because I mean, I did like the Saw movies. I thought those were interesting. At least a few of them were. But at the same time,
the first three were really well done. I thought I went for the first three.
Yeah.
And then after that, then I never saw anymore. After that, I was lost. Part of that was, you know, the main reason why I quit watching the Saw movies after the third one. Well, they killed Dina Meyer, and that was it for me. Like, what, you killed Dina Meyer? That's it. I'm done. But I thought the first three were very clever.
Yeah.
I thought they were very clever and well done and had a story to tell. They weren't there for the, by that time, I do think around the fourth movie is when they started to become people who watch it just for the traps.
Yeah.
But the first three movies themselves, they had a lot to say, and they were clever, and they were smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody saw the first two movies. No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
No one did. I mean, even hardcore fans just sitting there going like, I've seen everything. They were all like, what the hell? I mean, the whole theater, the first movie, the whole theater going like, what? When John stood up there, and it was just like, what? They never saw it coming. But yeah, I don't know. Wow, I never saw the first, at least for the first three. I never saw them as torture porn.
Yeah.
I
mean, that was the first time I really started to see the word thrown around. I mean, beyond that, like, I wasn't a fan of. I'm very hit or miss on Eli Roth. I haven't really been interested in much of what he's done.
Yeah, Hostel would probably be like maybe the.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if you know this, but back in the 80s, or even the late 70s, 80s, was the king of the slashers, right? They had the Halloweens, they had the Friday the 13th. Well, back then it was like the more gore you got, the better.
Yeah.
Well, the movies were just getting really out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it was actually Congress that came into play, sit there and say, listen, you need to start policing yourself about this shit because this is getting a little bit loopy.
Mm-hmm.
So Hollywood, they basically they came up with some new rules, and that was the studios, and that was you had to show your kill within a certain amount of time, like 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Now before it'd be like longer, like it would be, and you can't show suffering. Like, okay, you shot an arrow through the guy's chest. Okay, so you see the arrow go in his chest, you see him go, and then you cut away. Whereas before, he gets shot in the chest, and you see him just suffering because he's dying really painfully. And so what they did was they got rid of that.
Yeah.
And so the kills became a lot more quicker. And like I said, you couldn't show the people suffering. So they got rid of that. But, of course, that's studios. And, on the independent people, they don't necessarily have to follow those same rules,
right.
Because that's where they have the unrated or whatnot. But I mean, that was the reason why a lot of the horror movies, the big studio horror films, that's why they're a lot more palatable, I guess you could say. I mean, they're not quite as they're not quite as shocking as they used to be. You look at Halloween. I mean. I think for me, the first movie that just came up and up as far as torture porn goes, was actually there's two movies, and one I think I ended up getting blocked from them from Instagram from a distributor because I laid into it. There's a movie called Chaos, and in fact I had this discussion with Sean Kane way back in the day because he used an actor in Jurassic City that I knew from this movie called Chaos, and I absolutely he repulsed the shit out of me. And he says he's really a nice guy. He says I know him personally, and he's a nice guy. And I'm going like, a nice guy he may be, but what the fuck would he be thinking about doing a movie like that? I mean, you got to have your limitations. It's just a movie, really. It may look like a movie when you're making it because you're standing around and you're standing around and you're cold, and you're waiting for coffee, you're waiting for them to set up a shot or whatnot. So you're not really seeing the movie as you're seeing it. You're just making it,
Right.
It's all. But when you go see what you've made on big screen, and you can't even sit there and tell me that you can sit there and go like, oh yeah, that's just a movie. It's just what I did. There's something seriously wrong with you. And you got to sit there and say like, that's not the movie I signed it to make. Hell no, I don't want. No. Well, anyway, there's a movie called Chaos, and it's just Brian. it's just garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of the worst. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and I've been watching movies for over 40 years.
Yeah,
Definitely make it my top 20 worst. And so it was weird. It's like I'm sitting on Instagram, and all of a sudden I see this distributing company is hyping it up. It's hyping the same movie. I'm going like, what? How did he know the thing was still around? I thought it was out of print. I'm like, who the fuck wants to see that?
yeah.
No, you really, it's like nobody wants to see that. And why are you distributing it? Why are you contributing? I mean, you have a responsibility. You really do. You have a responsibility. Well, yeah. Well, everybody's free to see what they want. That's true. That's true. To a point. To a point. That's why we have limitations.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the IMDb page for now, and it's like, yeah, I can already tell you that's completely not something I would ever be interested in, and part of that is because of the fact that the worst movie the worst movie I've ever seen is the original I Spit on Your Grave. Like I couldn't stand that movie.
Oh, I can't stand that either. And, oh my God! The first time I saw that movie one time, it freaked the shit out of me.
Yeah,
I was 21-year-old fanboy. All the Friday the 13th, all the Michael Myers, all that. Oh hell, right? I saw that movie once, and I was like, oh, that was when I had my limitations. That's when I said there's only a certain point I will go to, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now, what's really weird is they made a direct sequel to it, right? Mm-hmm. I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, and they used the same director and they used the same actress.
Yeah.
Which is a real goddamn shame because Camille Keaton is a fine actress. And yet that's all she's known for. It sucks. Well, they added a new one, and they added a very good actress named Jamie Bernadette, and they put her in the movie. They cast her in the movie.
Yeah.
Now, I did an interview with Jamie, and it was actually one of my bigger interviews I've done recently. Mm-hmm. And I asked her because she did two movies back to back. One movie is I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, which is like a sequel to one of the most vilest movies ever made.
Yeah.
But she also made a movie called The Furnace, which is from everything I've heard, it's just an outstanding movie. Mm-hmm. It's one I want to see. It's one I really want to see. I've been trying to find it, and I really want to see it because it's one of those movies that speaks to me. Right? I really relate to it. But she did those movies back to back. Now I can't see a more extreme going up and going down than that, right? I mean, It's like you're doing torture porn on one hand, and you're doing a beautiful, just overcoming all odds tragedy over here. You just like, and to me, it's like, wow, how do you do that? How do you do that and separate? And she said she couldn't talk about it. But she had a really nasty experience on that I Spit on Your Grave movie, and you could tell it scarred her.
Yeah,
it's like of course I'm not asking her. I'm not, hell no, I'm not asking her. But I can get an idea what might have happened. I can get an idea, and it disgusts me. It disgusts me to the core, and it's just like this is all this director can offer us. Is this shit?
Seriously.
This is it? Yeah. It's like you don't have any more creativity. You don't have any more creativity than to go back to this movie that you made 30 years ago, and this is it.
Well, and the thing is, it's like I'm on IMDb right now, and I decide to look it up, and it's like, so 2019, I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. Runtime 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Oh, Lord.
How the fuck do you make a sequel to that is 40 minutes longer? I can't even imagine watching that. And the thing is, there was a complete reboot franchise for this too.
Yes.
2010s.
Yes, that one starred. They actually starred another actress that I saw her do another movie. She's actually pretty good.
Sarah Butler.
But yes, she did one called Free Fall. Yeah, she was really good in that. She was with she did that one with D.B. Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even recognize D.B. Sweeney. I didn't even recognize him at all.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I don't know if he was ill. He might have been ill. That's the thing. He might have been ill because he's really bloated. I'm not saying fat because I don't think he was fat, but he didn't look healthy.
Yeah.
But I didn't recognize him, and I was like, wait, that was DB. That was Terry from Spawn. Just like so. But yeah, I saw that she did the Days of the I Spit on Your Grave thing, and I was just like, why would anybody make the movie like? And you know what? I mean, I understand you have to make a living. I do. I get it.
Yeah.
I really do. But good Lord, what possessed you to do something like that?
Well, the thing is, it's so weird because of the fact that it's like, on the one hand, if just taking out, if you go by the basic log line of that premise, I can see a filmmaker making that work. The problem is in the execution, which is completely repellent. Because, I mean, look at Last House on the Left. Like, that is an excellent example of how to do that type of just really painful, difficult material and to do it effectively that doesn't gross you out.
Right.
And, I mean, Last House on the Left is a remake of a Bergman film, but it's based on the same folk tale, but that Virgin Spring is, but it's like, it all depends on the approach. And let's face it, the filmmaker behind the I Spit on the filmmaker behind I Spit on Your Grave is not even in the same league as Wes Craven as a filmmaker.
No,
not in the same.
He's insane. He's insane, and from everything I've heard of him, he's about as immoral as you can get.
Yeah, I mean.
On the other hand, now this is something that was really strange. Okay, so you got that guy. Okay, that guy who made I Spit on Your Grave not once but twice. Then I got to actually go back to Wild Eye. I got a movie called Bone Hill Road. Okay, it's got Bone Hill. So I get that movie, and I'm a huge special features guy. I'm sure you are too, right? I mean, if a movie has special features, I am too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the thing that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to watch the movie first, then watch the special features.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. I watched the special features first. So I watched it, and it's the making of Bone Hill Road. It's a 40-minute long featurette, right? It's pretty good. And the director of the movie is Todd Sheets.
Yeah.
And Brian, I'm telling you, super nice guy. You just want to meet Todd Sheets. You want to meet him in person. You want to have a beer with him. You want to have a burrito with him. Ball game.
Yeah.
He's just a super sweet fella, and his whole crew's around him. They if he told them to jump off the cliff, they say how high. I mean, they really, it's just amazing. He's a super sweet guy and a good filmmaker, and as far as getting his crew pumped up and uses his resources. But good Lord, his finished product. Oh Lord, it's perplexing to me. It's like, how are you such a sweet person behind the camera, and yet you put such violence, just completely inane violence on the screen for no reason?
Right.
It's just, I don't get it. Some of these filmmakers, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I understand you feel like you're making art, but what makes death so attracts people to make that kind of violent art? It's just the world is already ugly as it is.
Right.
You really don't need to add any more of it.
Well, I mean, if you, I'm looking at his filmography right now. I mean, that's the type of movie he's been doing since the 80s.
Yeah.
And
He's been.
I will say, like, one title in particular has me intrigued. I don't think I will ever go look for it, but it's nonetheless intriguing because of how singular it is. Sorority Babes and the Dance-a-thon of Death.
Oh, Lord.
He made it in 1991.
Now, the funny thing about his movies, like I actually went and read some reviews about Bone Hill Road.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of people they've seen his movies, so they're fans. They've watched it, and the criticism that was most I got from it was that he had not advanced as a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. He was using the same tricks that he was doing from where he first started. He hadn't learned anything new.
Yeah,
that was the biggest complaint that I got from all these critics. They're going like, if he's seen one Todd Sheets film, he's seen them all. That's worse to me.
Yeah,
that's worse than someone sitting there going like, this guy's a torture porn artist. Don't watch his movie. Look, that's one thing. But when someone's sitting there going like, yeah, he hasn't done anything new. Wow,
yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah,
you're putting a creative. You're basically putting a knife through that guy's creativity because he hasn't grown as an artist. He hasn't grown as a director. Yikes.
Yeah,
that's not good. You don't want that.
No, no, not at all.
And now I'm a completist, and we've already talked about the IFC movies. Now I have to be honest with you, the three movies I will never get from IFC. I will not be getting the Human Centipede. Thank you very much.
I will admit, like, a friend of mine and I watched that one night, and it's not bad, but at the same time, I would never rewatch it, and I would certainly never watch any of the sequels.
I heard they try to make the third one a little bit more palatable.
I can't even imagine how that's humanly possible. But
well, they put Eric Roberts in it.
Well, okay, but still, I mean, yeah. Now, okay. So speaking of Eric Roberts, so as a critic, now we each have our own favorite actors. We could talk about our favorite actors for the rest of the. Okay, but it's more fun to talk about the ones that you just can't. Like when you see their name on the box, you just he starts screaming and running away. So do you have a few like that? I'm trying to think if I really do. I don't know. Like, I've never really given it much thought. I'll be perfectly honest. Like, I've never really given that much thought as far as if I have. As
soon as you see their name on the box, he's just like, you're running the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I was hard pressed, I probably could see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
Like for me, for me, it would. Well, I just don't understand. I don't understand how his thought process works. I don't. It fascinates me, I guess, because I just got done reviewing a short film with him in it, and he was excellent. He brought the noise. Just like it made me laugh because I'm like, oh my, it's like okay. I guess it all depends on the material and the director.
Yeah.
And that was Eric Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw him in a short film that I just did called Pamela and Ivy that was written and directed by Leah McKendrick. That movie is amazing. That short film is amazing. I loved it. It's so much fun and made with so much love for the character. And Eric Roberts plays a key role.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, he actually, for the very first time, I could really remember this, he actually really looked his age. And I think that was on purpose. Like, he's sitting there and he has a stubble on there, or he looks haggard, and I think that was on purpose.
Yeah.
But man, it really added a lot of weight to his character. But he comes out with so many movies, and I've watched a few of them. Oh, you talk about flipping a coin. It's like, is it going to be any good? Is it going to be any bad? I mean, he's done so much. It kills me. It's like, but at the same time, there's another actor who does the same kind of work, but I don't begrudge him an instant. And I will watch anything that he does, and that's Danny Trujillo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's Danny Trujillo's on the cover. I know the movie's not probably going to be all that good, but you know what? I'm not really there for that. I'm really there for him.
Yeah.
Because he's awesome, and he comes in there and he gets hired for his 1 or 2 days worth of work. He goes in there, he does Danny, and then he gets out.
Yeah.
Some movies are really good. Some movies are just he's just there to help sell a few units.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the actors, like when you see a Steven Seagal movie, you're running.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sort of thing. That's just you wonder about I mean, it's hard as a writer. Okay, this is the problem with that. It's hard as a writer when you sit there and you get a chance to review a movie. Like for me, like I'm a Bruce Willis fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I, we like Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah.
Now, but since so many movies now, he comes out on Lionsgate like he's like shit. I think he's the lion in Lionsgate. I swear he does everything for him. But he comes out and he'll do these straight to video movies, and you don't know what you're getting. Or worse, you do know. You know it's got to be a very good performance. It's like he's going to come out there. Well, it's a both. It's both a combination of maybe he's acting to the script.
Right.
Maybe he's acting to the same level as the script's shitty. He's not really caring about it. Whereas before, which really perplexes me because I don't know. I just think someone like someone of his stature should have total script control. Like, you know what? I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. It's not how I see this character.
Yeah.
I watched the movie the other day, and it had Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it, and his character would not be doing anything like showed on his character of who he was. And they showed him doing things as his character that you just didn't believe. You didn't believe his character would do that.
Yeah.
It gave a real sense of like, it just makes to me when you see that, it makes a review, writing a review or a criticism, it makes it all that much harder because basically you're trying to get into the head, and then are you second guessing a director, or are you second guessing? No, you're not really doing that. You're just looking at it as a human being. Like, okay, you've established him as this person, but then you're asking us to believe him doing something that you've already established that he wouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
it just makes it that much harder to write about. Like Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you see Luke Skywalker at the end of The Last Jedi? Is that how you saw him going out?
No. See, you and I are completely on opposite ends with regards to The Last Jedi. And believe me, you're not the only person I know who feels this way. My roommate, who is coughing loudly because of the fact that I'm mentioning it, he's definitely more in your camp than he is mine. I personally love that movie, and I actually even love what Luke Skywalker does in that movie because of the fact that I think it's so much more. It ended up being so much more interesting for me, just to see the way that character was represented, compared to what I expected. Now, yeah, of course, I kind of expected, like a lot of people, oh, he's going to train Rey. It's going to be great. There's going to be great lightsaber battles and stuff like that. And then when that's not what I got, I'm like, this is actually interesting because of the fact that it's not what I expected. I mean, it was sort of the very opposite. I mean, you're right. Like, Force Awakens is basically a remake of New Hope. That's essentially what it is.
All three of them are all remakes. They're all three. They're all remakes.
But
they're all there's no continuity. That's the problem with it. It's like they didn't move the story forward at all. And the thing is, they have such a wealth of source material to go off of. There's so much out there. So the legacy is so rich that they could have went any 6 ways to Sunday to pick a storyline, and they decided just to remake the first 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I can tell you right now who the happiest man in the world was when that happened. You know who the happiest person was in the world when those 3 new Star Wars movies came out?
Probably George Lucas.
George Lucas, because he's sitting there going like, "Oh, thank God! Now I'm off the hook because now people will quit giving me shit about Revenge of the Sith." You know.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for that.
I'll still criticize the prequels if he wants to. I'll do that. I have no problem doing that. But
I personally feel other than the romance. I mean, yeah, some of that dialogue was really painful between Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
But as far as the final fight goes, oh my God.
No, I thought the prequels got better. I think
they did.
I think with Phantom Menace, it's like it was obvious it was made by a filmmaker who hadn't made a movie in 20 years, who hadn't directed a movie in 20 years, and he just didn't really have the sense of rhythm and pacing and stuff like that. But in the way to direct actors down. But yeah, I mean, I think the prequels, you could see him get more and more confident as the prequels went on, and I actually really liked Revenge of the Sith. I think it's a really solid movie.
It's my third favorite one after Return of the Jedi and The Empire Strikes Back. It's my third favorite one. It's super strong. The ending is just heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. Yeah. And Ian McGregor does not get nearly enough credit for his performance in that movie.
No, he unfortunately. I mean, it's good to see that he is kind of now getting that moment and being able to return to that character. I'm really looking forward to that series. But at the same time, yeah, I would agree with that, where it's like the work he was doing as Obi-Wan kind of got lost in the shuffle of all the prequel hate that those movies were getting.
What do you feel about? Do you feel like this? Okay, so here's another big thing. Because now we're talking about this. This is a part of the deal too. The studio interference has never been greater than it has been today. It never has. I mean, even back in the golden days of Hollywood. When Louis B. Mayer was head of MGM and Jack Warner was around. I mean, even back then, but never has it been so much more interference than today.
Yeah, well, and I think part of the problem with that, I hope that what we're going to start seeing after what's happened this year with COVID-19 and productions having to be shut down, movies having to be delayed and stuff like that, what I'm hoping ends up happening is we're going to start to see a return to the studios not just betting big on tentpole blockbusters and basically going from a foundation of lower to mid-tier budget movies that
that's the only way you're going to save theaters.
Yeah. And because, I mean, you can't spend... There's no way you can spend $250, $300 million every time And if something like this happens, it's like you're basically like you're losing money because of the fact that you're not able to put it out there, but at the same time you don't feel like you can put it out there on like VOD like Disney Plus or Hulu or HBO Max and stuff like that.
You won't get your money back at all
without just completely torching all of your money. And it's like, you know, my hope is that one of the things that the studios realize is that their model of basically, you know, a top to bottom inverted pyramid is completely unsustainable.
Do you think the theater going experience? I mean, do you think the theaters are dying?
I don't think they'll. I don't think they'll ever completely die. I do think, and I'm not just saying that because of the fact that I'm desperately waiting for when I can go back to work at my theater, but
right.
it's which got pushed back more because of the fact that Tenet got pushed back more. But I don't think the theatrical experience will ever completely die. I do think we're past the time. I do think we're past the time of big opening weekends, second weekends being the end all be all of the theatrical experience, and we could see a return, and I think we're going to start to see a return of real platform releases on the parts of studios, not just for smaller independent films, but for larger films. Because
I hope so,
because that's how they're going to have to sustain to even try to make a profit right now.
I really want to believe that, because I mean, I've only gone to the theater. I haven't been to the theater at all this year. Even without the pandemic.
Yeah.
The last movie I saw at the theater actually was It Part 2.
Oh, wow.
That was the last movie I saw. Now, this is coming from a person who went to the theater when anytime there's a superhero movie came out. Me and Catfish, we were there. You know, we're fanboys. So, but I quit. I quit going altogether. I just got tired of paying the money to get the ticket, and even the tickets when they were reasonable. It's going in there for the whole experience. You know, like a lot of times you want to go there for the experience at nighttime, and we're going to say, "Oh, I want to see Avengers Endgame. Let's go tonight." All right. Well, then you're paying like $12. Then you have to have assigned seating, and then you get this. It's just holy shit. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go. I'm going to wait. Okay, it's going to come out. Let's say it has a 6-month run. But they're gonna put the movie out on video. I'll have to wait a month after that, and then I'll get it for $5 from my local video store.
Yeah,
I'm gonna, and I can see it at home, and I don't have to spend $80 or if I take a buddy or $40 if I take myself or whatnot, if I want to get a snack or whatnot. And I just I find that like my biggest peeve was all of a sudden the assigned seating.
Yeah.
Holy crap! If there's one thing I would have told them not to do, and that was that. That was the worst thing you could do. That assigned seating, it kills it. There's no spontaneity. I mean, it's either a lot of people. There's been times where I sat where me and my buddy would call and say, "Well, what do you think? Want to go see the show? Want to go see it?" And then we're like, "Well, yeah, but we're seeing it now. Chances are we won't be able to get seats." Okay, well, I guess we're staying at home.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah.
I just think the theaters they have done their best to shoot themselves in the foot. I don't blame the studios as much as the theaters. The theaters could negotiate a better fee. Okay, they could, and part of that fee is, listen, if you don't want to show me the latest Disney movie, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's okay. I don't need to show that. I could show 2 Warner Brothers and a Paramount and an IFC movie. I could do that and make the money. I'll get more people in the theater because I have more variety.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a lot of these theaters, they get stuck on that one big movie, And then once that movie starts fading away, then they're stuck with it because they have a contract saying that you have to show my movie first and last, and you can't show it against this movie.
Yeah.
And this and you're basically hamstrung.
Oh, it's well. And the thing is, it's like it's as somebody who works at a movie theater, it's like it's such a double-edged sword when it comes to unfortunately, it's not necessarily as simple as negotiating a better percentage on tickets, because of the fact that then they'll just say, oh, okay, then you won't have that, you won't get that. But the problem is, it's like, if we don't, because I work at a theater where we're in what's known as a 2-player zone with another theater, so we don't necessarily get all the movies anyway. And so if we don't get and Disney's been the one that's been most disproportionate to us over the past few years, where it's like they want to put out the problem is the other theater has a quote unquote IMAX and we don't. And so they will inevitably go for the theater with the IMAX. And so that means we're losing, like, we might get like 2 or 3 movies that year from Disney, but at the same time, it's not necessarily going to be the bigger movies that Disney has. So it's a double-edged sword with that. But yeah, I mean, I think so much of the problem, though, is now the theatrical experience. I will fully admit that I do think exhibitors need to really make some changes in order to make it better for the customers. But at the same time, and I hope that, again, this goes back to sort of what I was saying earlier as far as the studios, the way the studios operate as far as big tentpole movies as opposed to lower to mid-tier movies, not relying as much on the big movies and putting out more of the smaller movies and focusing more on the smaller movies. And I think you could have a very strong win-win in those scenarios.
I mean, it used to be summer season was, from end of May to end of July.
Yeah.
And it was always, there'd be like 10, 15, 20 movies. Mm-hmm. Now it's gone to the point where it's just 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And they've taken up so many screens. That's the thing. That's what kills me. Is like I go to my local theater, and all I see is like there's 10 screens full of Avengers. Well, why do all 10 screens have to be full of Avengers? How come there can't be a movie like The Wretched, or something like that? I mean, now that the theaters are now that are showing anything, now the small indie the theaters that are actually staying alive, that actually they're staying alive solely on the independent movies.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the number one movie this summer is The Wretched.
It is.
I think that's been the biggest. I think it's been the biggest summer block, the big summer hit.
Yeah, and
that's crazy, right?
Well,
that is absolutely insane.
It's like this. We're seeing a renaissance of drive-ins, and it's like, and other theaters have had to sort of do makeshift drive-ins in order to survive, and it's really that it's really been fun to see that come into play. And I love the fact that The Wretched is basically the highest grossing movie of the year, the summer, because of the fact that I thought it was a terrific film, but also it's fun to see something other than the indie or anything other than the major studios basically having a bit of a foothold for a little bit.
Yeah, the art house theater is I know it. It's gone. I mean, we don't have any art house theaters around here. We used to have like 2 or 3, but they're all gone.
Yeah.
I mean, when I lived in San Jose, I learned to really love independent movies because I used to work across the street from a chain, and the publicist over there used to give me tickets all the time.
Yeah.
And so when I wasn't working at the club, I mean, I get a free ticket and I go down there and I go watch an independent movie. And, I learned to love it. I was like, wow, this is great. No one else saw that. I don't know what they're thinking. So I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping that when things go back to normal, like there'll be room for movies like, hell, even, for The Wretched or, The Rental or whatnot. I mean, movies like that should should be seen on a big screen.
Mm-hmm.
It just absolutely sucks that they get totally squeezed out, and then next thing you know, I mean, they get shown on the 4 or 5 ISC screens they have in New York, and then they go straight to video or whatnot, streaming or video release.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel it's just like I said. I mean, I don't write about blockbusters, so. And I actually have a video chain in my town where I get basically about 90% of my movies. Well, maybe about 85 now. Dollar Tree is going crazy. So I get about 85% of the movies from my movies that I buy. I get from a video chain that's still there. That we still have.
Yeah.
And speaking of theaters. The video store too. It used to be a really good place to go get a movie.
Yeah.
And the physical media aspect of a movie going, that's a thing.
Yep.
That is a huge thing. Wow. I mean, look, I'll be the first one to sit there and lump the YouTube critics. The wannabe critics.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another community out there I totally support. And so glad it's out there, and that's the physical media. I mean, holy shit! There's thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
I mean, tens of thousands. When's the last time you went to a Target or a Best Buy?
I mean, a couple of days ago, but not necessarily.
But have you noticed that they just don't that all their physical media has been reduced?
Oh yeah, I mean I mean I haven't been to Best Buy since the pandemic started, but yeah, I mean Target and Walmart you'll occasionally find something, but Target more often than not, yeah, I mean their physical media is relatively bare and relegated to only like a handful of studios.
It's the market's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're being told like, well, we're going to go streaming. Nobody wants this stuff. Well, that's 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And like I don't understand that. It's like I see the same short-sightedness as when they said that the vinyl record was going to go out. They said the vinyl record was going to go out and be replaced by the cassette.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, 2020. And vinyl records are very healthy, and cassettes are
obsolete.
You don't see them anymore. Obsolete, and or I mean, I don't see them at all.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely insane. I don't know why they make the same mistakes. It really kills me. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely a market out there. People want to see them. They want to talk about them. They want to watch them. To me, that's where the independents come into play. Mm-hmm. I mean, where do we get our next wave of directors and actors and actresses and whatnot if we can't have physical media?
Yeah.
If they can't put out because the streaming services, like we already know this with Amazon, they are cutthroat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it used to be Amazon Prime would be a place to go and show your movie. Okay, yeah, we'll show you a movie. We'll give you what? I don't know. I'm guessing maybe you know more than I do. But what they get? Like if someone watched the movie all the way through, they get 50 cents for it or something like that? Or I
think it's something like that. I'm not exactly sure.
I think it used to be that.
Yeah.
Now I think it's a lot worse.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it's to the point where even if someone watched it for halfway through, they still get something. Now I think now they're getting paid on if the movie's watched all the way through.
Yeah.
And it's produced. So now even the independent filmmakers, they can't even go to Amazon Prime and Amazon Prime is now from what I understand, they're not. Before they would just take just about anything.
Yeah.
It was like now they're not even doing that anymore because they're doing their own original, and Hollywood is now making those movies. They're taking a lot less budget. They're making smaller budget movies, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like The Old Guard. I just saw that, a Charlize Theron movie. They made that for Netflix.
Yeah.
Now you know that movie had like a $10 million budget, if it had that. But they're going straight to streaming.
Yeah.
It's like, but people want to buy them out here, and they're not going to watch it. They're not going to watch it during streaming. Streaming, it only has a finite amount of people.
Right. Well, and the thing is, it's like also why I'm such a proponent of physical media is because of the fact that it's like it can disappear from streaming, at a whim. Like, it can disappear at whim. Like, so, and heck, there are some movies, like I still have VHSs for movies that never even made it to DVD for one reason or another. And so
there's a lot of them out there.
Holding on to those. So
I didn't realize that either, Brian, until I saw it on YouTube that there's, like, I thought, well, shit, all these movies are out on DVD now, and but man, there are a lot of movies out there that aren't on there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, dude, I mean, the movie I watched last night, Rad, it's a Hal Needham film. Director of like Cannonball Run, Smokey and the Bandit from the 80s. And it's like,
Hal Needham, yeah, he used to do stunts on Have Gun Will Travel.
And the thing is, it's like it was not available like for years. And Vinegar Syndrome finally they restored it, brought it out on Blu-ray this year, and
is that a bicycle movie?
Yeah, it's a BMX movie. It's really cheesy, but I also enjoy it. Like, it was one that I really enjoyed as a kid. So
okay, I seem to remember it faintly.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous and cheesy, but it's fun as well. But yeah, I mean, that one was unavailable forever, and it's like it never came out on DVD. I mean, you could probably buy a pirated version, but it's like it would cost you an arm and a leg and wouldn't even necessarily play. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, not everything is as available as people think it is. But
yeah, I didn't know. I thought it'd been. I just thought maybe it'd just been out of print.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. It's so funny.
But yeah,
wow,
it's well, and that's one of the cool things about. I mean, it's not every movie that Netflix comes out. I mean, we're not gonna see, but yeah, I mean, some of these Netflix movies are starting to make their way into Criterion, and so they have a physical release.
I was going to ask you this: have you managed to get on the Criterion list?
No, I have not. I would love to, but no,
I would love
that
for you too.
That would be awesome because there's a certain Lizard box set on that collection that I would absolutely love to have in my collection. But
I've only found 3 Criterion movies out in the wild.
Yeah, it's hard to find them. I mean, it really is hard to find them. Like that, and that's one of the downsides of video stores basically being obsolete now. Where it's like, I mean, I found used Criterions at video stores. Like that's how I got Sid and Nancy. That's how I got Silence of the Lambs Criterion back in the day. I mean, they've since reissued both of them, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, you can occasionally find that, but
I got all 3 of mine at the library.
Yeah.
Man, that's yeah. Well, you know what it is? It's like the worst place on the planet to go for shopping for physical media is Barnes and Noble. It's the worst. I mean, their prices are so badly inflated. It's a joke. It's a bloody joke. You go inside there and you see shit in there and you're just like, wow, and like I thought about it, go in there and get a Criterion just just to have one. I go in there and it's like $25, and it's half off. It's half off of 25. No, it's half off of 50.
Yeah,
$50.
yeah.
Oh, I think that hurts. I think that hurts a lot. I mean, it hurts a lot for the film buff. I mean, like I actually wanted to know this. I actually said, like, how many movies does the average person have in their collection? So I typed that up there, and I was reading people saying like 300 and 380 and 400. I'm going like, oh well, I know that's not true because Catfish has 5,500 movies. I probably got about 3,000 myself.
Yeah, physical media. I'm right around like 1,800 or so. So
I think it's great you're on the list, though.
Yeah,
I'm great. I've seen other people get. It's sort of weird. It's like I was only on a few. And it's like I said, I really haven't chased after it too hard. And I was on Mill Creek, but then they did a whole big revamping, so they cut a lot of us loose. Mm-hmm. I really wasn't all upset about that.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I got some good stuff from them, but I really wasn't crying over it. It wasn't like, no, don't do that. It was just like, okay. I actually felt like a weight came off my shoulders because now I'm free to go back and review some of the stuff I have been bypassing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, as fun as this has been, I think this might be a decent time to wrap it up for now. But
sure.
I would definitely love to continue at another time because this is
sure.
This has
You
been
can have me back anytime you want.
Yeah.
I don't envy you editing though.
Oh no worries. It's like but yeah, this was a lot of fun to talk and to like be able to just talk freely and generally and stuff like that about just all sorts of movies and get to know you a bit better and get to know sort of like where you got started as far as blogging about movies and the types of movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun.
I wish I had a happier origin story for you, but it is what it is.
I mean, yeah. But it was really good to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and listen to your interviews with Tim.
Yeah,
I want to hear Tim. I bet he's a hoot.
Oh yeah, so we've done like one actual interview for the podcast, but he's also been on to talk about different. Like I've had him on to talk about different movies. I've had him like we did a podcast earlier this year on Jack Nicholson after his birthday, and about acting, about different performances and stuff like that he really enjoyed a couple of years ago. So I mean, it's a pretty far-reaching discussion, but yeah, he's a lot of fun to talk about. So,
well, if you ever have one with IFC movies, you'd be a ring for sure.
Oh yeah, well, we can I think we can definitely arrange that, especially as I'm starting to watch more and more of them. So,
but yeah, that would be fun. This was fun. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yeah, and I'll let you know when I post it. It'll probably be in a couple weeks. But,
sure, take your time. Yeah. I'll promote it like hell too.
Yeah, and that's and I appreciate it. But this was a lot of fun to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I'd like to thank Michael for joining me on the podcast today. It was really great to talk to him, and it's been great to get to know some of my fellow bloggers as we've gone through this past few months of social distancing and quarantine with movie theaters closed, and just getting to know them, getting to know what drew them to writing about films and what keeps them writing about films. There's going to be more coming up in the few months. I hope to talk to a fellow my friend Dave about one of the great anime directors of all time. I hope to have some really interesting things to say about the Fantasia International Film Festival, which I'm covering virtually. I'm looking forward to that. And many more as we get through the rest of the year. Thank you very much for joining me on the Sonic Cinema podcast. This is Brian Scuttle at www.sonic-cinema.com, as well as Apple, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. Thank you very much.